Hello, my name is Julianne Romhild, and I am going to read a passage from Elizabeth von Arnim's novel The Caravaners. It was published in 1909, and it is told in the first person by Baron Otto von Ottringel. He has recently been to England on a caravanning tour, and he talks about his experiences. I have decided not to show Edelgard my manuscript again, and my reason is that I may have a freer hand. For the same reason, I will not, as we at first proposed, send it round by itself among our relations, but will either accompany it in person or invite our relations to a cosy beer evening with a simple little cold something to follow, and read aloud such portions of it as I think fit, omitting, of course, much that I say about Edelgard, and probably also a good deal that I say about everybody else. A reasonable man is not a woman, and does not willingly pander to a love of gossip. Besides, as I have already hinted, the Edelgard who came back from England is by no means the Edelgard who went there. It will wear off, I am confident, in time, and we will return to the status quo ante. How naturally that came out. It gratifies me to see I still remember. A status quo full of trust and obedience on the one side, and of kind and wise guidance on the other. Surely I have a right to refuse to be driven except by a silken thread. When I, noticing a tendency on Edelgard's part to attempt to substitute, if I may so express it, leather, asked the above question, will it be believed that what she answered was bosh? It gave me a great start to hear her talk like that. Bosh is not a German expression at all. It is purest English. And it amazes me with what rapidity she picked it and similar portions of the language up, adding them in quantities to the knowledge she already possessed of the tongue, a fairly complete knowledge, she having been well educated, but altogether excluding words of that sort. Of course, I am aware it was all Jalaby's fault, but more of him in his proper place. I will not now dwell on later incidents, while my narrative is still only at the point where everything was eager anticipation and preparation. Our caravan had been hired. I had sent, at Frau von Ektum's direction, the money to the owner, the price unfortunately having to be paid beforehand, and August the 1st, the very day of my wedding with poor Marie-Louise, was to see us start. Naturally, there was much to do and arrange, but it was pleasurable work, such as getting a suit of civilian clothes adapted to the uses it would be put to, searching for stockings to match the knickerbockers, and for a hat that would be useful in both wet weather and sunshine. It will all be sunshine, said Frau von Ektum, with an unusually pretty smile. It includes the sudden appearance of two dimples. When I expressed fears as to the effect of rain on the Panama that I finally bought, and which, not being a real one, made me anxious. We saw her several times, because of our need for hints as to luggage, meeting place, etc., and I found her each time more charming. When she was on her feet, too, her dress hid the shoes, and she was really helpful, and was apparently looking forward greatly to showing us the beauties of her sister's more or less native land. As soon as my costume was ready, I put it on and drove out to see her. The stockings had been a difficulty, because I could not bear, accustomed as I am to cotton socks, their woolen feet. This was at last surmounted by cutting off their feet and sewing my ordinary sock feet onto the woolen legs. It answered splendidly. An Edelgard assured me that with care no portion of the sock, which was not of the same colour, would protrude. She herself had sent to Berlin to Wertheim for one of the tailor-made dresses in his catalogue, which turned out to be of really astonishing value for the money, and in which she looked very nice, with a tartan silk blouse and a little Tyrolese hat and a pheasant's feather stuck in it. She was so much transformed that I declared I could not believe it was our silver wedding journey, and that I felt exactly as I did 25 years before. But it is not our silver wedding journey. she said with some sharpness. Dear wife, I retorted, surprised, you know very well that it is mine, and that what is mine is also by law yours, and that therefore, without the least admissible logical doubt, it is yours. She made a sudden gesture with her shoulders that was almost like impatience. But I, knowing what victims the best of women are to incomprehensible moods, went out and bought her a pretty little bag with a leather strap to wear over one shoulder and complete her attire, thus proving to her that a reasonable man is not a child and knows when and how to be indulgent. Frau von Ektum, who was going to stay with her sister for a fortnight before they both joined us, the sister I regretted to hear was coming too, left in the middle of July. Fritz, at that time, incomprehensibly to me, made excuses for not taking part in the caravan tour, but since then light has been thrown on his behaviour. He said, I remember, that he could not leave the pigs. Much better not leave his sister, said Edelgard, who, I fancy, was just then a little envious of Frau von Ektum. Dear wife, I said gently, we shall be there to take care of her, and he knows she is safe in our hands. Besides, we do not want Fritz. He is the last man I can imagine myself ever wanting. It was perfectly natural that Edelgard should be a little envious, and I felt it was, and did not therefore in any way check her. I need not remind those relatives who will next winter listen to this, that the Flitzes of Flitzburg, of whom Frau von Ektum was one, are a most ancient and still more penniless family. Frau von Ektum and her gaunt sister, last time she was staying in Prussia, both Edelgard and I were struck with her extreme gauntness. They each married a wealthy man by two most extraordinary strokes of luck. For what man nowadays will marry a girl who cannot take, if not the lion's share, at least a very substantial one of the household expenses upon herself? What is the use of a father if he cannot provide his daughter with the money required suitably to support her husband and his children? I myself have never been a father, so that I am qualified to speak with perfect impartiality. That is, strictly, I was one, twice, but only for so few minutes each time that they can hardly be said to count. The two von Flitz girls married so young and so well, and have been, without in any way really deserving it, so snugly wrapped in comfort ever since, and Frau von Ektum actually losing her husband 2 years after the marriage and coming into everything, that naturally Edelgard cannot be expected to like it. Edelgard had a portion herself of 6,000 marks a year besides, an unusual quantity of house linen, which enabled her at last, she was 24 when I married her, to find a good husband. And she cannot understand by what wiles the two sisters, without a penny or tablecloth, secured theirs at 18. She does not see that they were is the better word in the case of the gaunt sister, attractive. But then the type is so completely opposed to her own that she would not be likely to. Certainly I agree that a married woman, verging, as the sister must be, on 30, should settle down to a smooth head and at least the beginnings of a suitable embonpoint. We do not want wives like lieutenants in a cavalry regiment. And Edelgard is not altogether wrong when she says that both Frau von Ektum and her sister make her think of those lean and young, elegant men. Our lean woman, with her restlessness of limb and brain, is far indeed removed from the soft amplitudes and slow movements of her who is the ideal wife of every German better-class bosom. Privately, however, I feel that I can at least understand that there may have been something to be said at the time for the Englishman's conduct, and I more than understand that of the deceased Ektum. No one can deny that his widow is undoubtedly... Well, let me return to the narrative. I'll stop here. I hope you enjoy reading The Caravaners. It is really a very funny novel, and I hope, that you have some fun with it.